Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me, as always, is Sam Roth.
How are we doing, guys?
We have a jam-packed episode today.
We sure do.
Before we get into it, why don't you like and subscribe? Why not? We don't ever say that.
Yeah.
Do it.
It helps us when we say it, though.
It doesn't?
Yeah, actually.
Oh,
It tries
okay.
to change a little bit, yeah.
I didn't know that. Of course, we talk about colleges can now pay players. Huge news. We talk about the baseball tournament. The field is finally set.
Jaden Rashada is the biggest Florida hater ever.
And I'm here for it,
Yeah,
personally.
we sure are. Absolutely.
Yeah, we talk about some interesting news about baseball teams that are not good. They're fun little stories.
Absolutely.
We also talk about EA Sports. There's some stuff coming out about that, information on how they got the naming rights and everything. And Shiloh Sanders, and of course we ended off with the transfer portal. NBA draft deadline is tomorrow on Wednesday, so a lot of decisions upcoming, and that's about it. So we'll see you in the episode. It's a good one. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me is Sam Roth.
How we doing, guys?
There's somehow, it's almost June.
It sure is. Memorial Day weekend we just passed.
Yep. Yeah, we're recording this on a Tuesday. So it's 28th of May. Somehow there's a ton of news.
Massive amount of
So
news.
let's just jump right into it.
Let's go for it.
I don't know how this didn't get like more people talking about it, because this is the biggest news, like pretty much in the sports world.
Yeah.
For a time, and that's that the NCAA. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we thought this would happen.
No, we didn't think this.
So we didn't really give it much.
We made the assumption this was going to be in the courts for like years and years, and
they were
out.
settling this. We
Right.
talked about how they were coming to a settlement. I just thought that schools were going to pay money, which turns out they are. The
sure
NCAA and power conferences have settled the House v. NCAA case, so they got to pay over 10 years like $2.7 billion to former athletes going back to 2016. But also part of that agreement is that schools now have to engage in revenue sharing. Well, they opt in to revenue sharing, which means if you don't do it, you're just going to get left in the dust.
Right.
Which is huge. Schools can directly pay players now.
Which probably won't go into effect till next calendar year, which would be fall of 2025.
At the earliest, yeah.
Right. So it's not right away.
So if I'm an athlete right now, I'm going to coach and I'm being like, hey, redshirt me.
Redshirt me.
Redshirt. I don't care if I'm a true senior quarterback and we've got a shot to win the national championship. Right. Redshirt me now.
Right.
But so
it is a lot to break down, though.
It's a lot.
Because basically what this settlement is that they'll start paying players next year with roughly a salary cap, if I'm understanding this correctly, for
schools
each school.
Can pay up to $20 million per year.
Now, there hasn't been decided whether or not how that money has to be split up.
Yeah, Title IX has to work into that.
Does it have to?
Yes, it has to.
It has to?
Yes.
So $10 million of that will go, or you spend less on...
It is not sure, like, if it's got to be 10 million, because the way Title IX works is there has to be equal education opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Opportunities in educational programs, which basically means sports.
Right.
And you can't, like, if you're Alabama, you can't, like, take $15 million and put it into...
You can't put, like, 85% of it into football, the other 5 into basketball, and call it a day.
Yeah, you can't do that, because women have to get paid. There has to be some level of equal opportunity. Also, Title IX is very tricky. It depends on, like, school. Like, for example... University of Cincinnati, they need to have a higher percentage of female athletes than a lot of schools, because Cincinnati has a much higher percentage of female students. They've got about 60% female student body, and so they have to have roughly 60% female athletes.
Student athletes, yeah.
But in the cases with other schools, you kind of just have to have the same number of scholarship slots available for men and women. So it's very tricky, and it's definitely a case by case thing. The Title IX's the Title IX office is gonna have to be working like day and night to figure out how to do this.
What's also gonna be interesting is like you could have some schools where you could be up north and you don't care about baseball, whereas you could be at a well-established SEC school in baseball where they might want to put more money into their baseball program and stuff along those lines.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see on how the money gets spread out among all the universities. But the other interesting thing about this settlement deal is also each school will be paying not only the $20 million if they want to be paying it, but also they will have to be paying $2 million for the next 10 years and retroactive.
That's to former players, yeah.
Right, retroactive to current and former players.
Yeah, which is
retroactive.
interesting. UConn's actually trying to countersue or appeal one of the two. I don't think they've formally done either. Because they think they're paying too much because they do not have a power conference FBS football program. I mean, they've got an argument, honestly, I think.
I think it'd be interesting to see if they actually do bring forth something, because we talked about this off camera, at least, is that if UConn was to win that countersuit, it'd be interesting to see the revenue that will be shown by every single university, because if they win and it is based off of revenue sharing and the amount of money that each college makes, you're going to see which athletic departments are thriving and which ones are struggling, because you're going to see how much they're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, well far in advance of what we are seeing right now, which is at least at the moment, amateurism is going by the wayside now in college sports. It is, but it's official with this. Once you're receiving a check from your employer, which is no other way to say it.
Technically, under this lawsuit, they're still not employees.
No, they're not.
Which is kind of silly.
Well, the idea is that they are still trying to avoid labor unions and all this.
Yes.
So they're fully trying to avoid that at all costs.
It's just a matter of time.
It is.
It's not even like, oh, let's see if we can hold out and avoid this. You can't.
Notre Dame's athletic director basically came out and said the key part about this is that they are not employees. And I'm like,
they will be. Give it time.
Oh, it most.
There's literally already a labor union at Dartmouth their basketball team.
Not yet. They're still fighting for it. It's not official. There's still
the NLRB declared them. They recognized their union.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Well, I still thought there was still things to be worked out to be clear.
The NLRB is the final say on that.
Okay.
I could get into
all that stuff,
real nerdy stuff, but basically, if they say it, it's true. So, Dartmouth, they're a union. Okay. Their basketball team is an official recognized union.
There you go.
Something that did stand out to me about this settlement is $20 million. That's attainable for power conference schools. That doesn't put the SEC and the Big Ten so far out of reach, at least not now, because this salary cap could go up or it could go away altogether.
Right.
But as of now, this puts the Big 12 and the ACC in on okay footing as far as competing for getting recruits, because it's just going to depend on how you want to spend that $20 million.
Yeah.
Because I did think a school like Gonzaga, they're probably going to have a big leg up now in basketball.
Oh,
because they don't have a football team.
No.
And so
there was an argument to be made about this case on how, like you're thinking about Gonzaga and stuff, on how schools might decide to cut certain programs to allow them the flexibility to obtain more money towards other programs.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a potential downside of this, where you could see sports that aren't generating revenue or the school just had because it's nice to have, right? To where now there's no longer the need for expansion and stuff. And
yes, but it's weird. Again, it's weird like semantic stuff, but you need, as it currently stands, you need at least 12 sports programs to be considered Division I. You need at least 12. The makeup of that 12 can vary, and you can have more than 12 too if
Right.
you really want to.
I'm just trying to think of like what are sports that are like very low in number of athletes required to compete in the sport, and then also you have those sports to where you're then able to supplement that into football or into basketball or into baseball if you're one of those big baseball schools or so on and so forth, or even women's basketball for that matter. Like I would not be surprised, like with UConn at least, it's like they probably don't need to put any money into the exact opposite. They don't need to put any money into their football program. They're probably going to try and put it all into basketball.
They probably will.
Right. It's very similar.
Both men and women's.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see the exact opposite effect of it, where will we see like absolute powerhouse dominant programs in certain sports because that's just the makeup of their college.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're going to see that. You're going to see schools that prioritize certain sports over others. It's going to. I think this is going to cause coaches to leave because I think they're going to, from a literal dollars and cents standpoint, they're going to see how much they matter in respect to other coaches and other programs at that school. They're like, no, I want to go somewhere where you value football or you value basketball.
It will also be interesting on like the idea of programs that traditionally, could we also see it to where top prospects spread out more, or where if you think about basketball, you obviously had in the past it was like Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, your true blue bloods getting majority of the top recruits, and now even with NIL, you're starting to see like Rutgers got two of the top 3 recruits this year. I wonder if you're going to see a point to where like John Calipari may struggle at Arkansas, where he traditionally gets all the top recruits or majority of the top recruits in a sense, where now it's like, well, I don't have the money to be able to even offer these guys because there's only so much I can offer out to build a team with.
Well, Arkansas is going to prioritize basketball.
Well, 100%, but it's also like the reports of this type of money that's coming out where like Great Osaboro got $2 million to go to Washington, right?
Well, that's NIL.
Right.
NIL is not going away.
I know. I realize that. So, like, are you able to construct a roster based off of the salary cap and then NIL as well is going to be another ability to obtain recruits?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be because exactly what you said. Like, Great Osabor got $2 million. If you can only spend $20 million a year,
you're not spending 10% of your budget on one player.
Literally one person.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, when you have hundreds of athletes.
Across the entire athletic department.
Yeah, you can't do that. And so NIL is still going to exist. It's still going to be around. It's still going to be utilized by coaches as a recruiting tactic.
Right.
So, yeah, but, I mean, it's not detrimental to the rest of the power conferences. The group of 5 is interesting. And like FCS, I'm curious about that. Like how, like, because I think a lot of, I'll be perfectly honest, I think D3 schools, they're going to say, screw it, we're not opting in.
Well, also the interesting thing is, like, for the FCS, at least with the D2, is like, does this even affect them? Is this even are they even a part of this? I thought it was just Division 1.
No, I think it's the entire NCAA.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because it's an opt-in. So schools can opt in, and like, I think you're going to see D3 and D2 and 3 schools not opt in.
Well, I think it also makes sense not to opt in because at some point there's a value. At some point at the level that you're at, there is a value with getting an education. But then once you go higher up, the value of the education just isn't worth it as much, and you should be paid for.
Well, the value of the education is not as big a piece of the pie. No,
absolutely not.
And technically, you don't get athletic scholarships at D3. D3 schools, they offer academic scholarships to all their athletes. So that basically, they're not paying the same tuition as normal students.
Right.
Did you know Vandy does that too?
Really?
For walk-ons, Vanderbilt gives academic scholarships to the walk-ons all their sports. So basically, they're on scholarship too.
What's wild to me is I'm starting to learn about baseball and how the scholarships are very small in baseball. Like there's only like 10 to 12 scholarships on a team.
That's why Vandy does it.
I know. It's kind of insane if you think about it.
Yeah, and
for how large a program it is.
Yeah,
And-
it's very big. It's only like a fourth.
Yeah, it's insane.
But I mean, yeah, no, I think we briefly mentioned it. This part of the settlement is this gets rid of 2 other lawsuits, antitrust lawsuits that were pending
Right.
against the NCAA.
It does.
I mean, it's huge. This is huge news.
Right. There is still one more lawsuit that still is looming out in Colorado's court right now. So this doesn't completely get rid of all of NCAA's issues when it comes to being sued by former athletes.
No.
But it definitely is a step for them to try and at least get something.
Yeah. But why get sued by a former athlete when a current athlete can sue you?
Sure can.
Jaden Rashada, he's not actually suing the NCAA, but he is suing Florida. No, actually, he's not suing Florida. He specifically left University of Florida out.
He sure did.
So he's suing Billy Napier, Marcus Castro Walker, and Hugh Hathcock.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird name.
Is their biggest donor?
Those 2 are those are 2 boosters. One of them is their biggest donor. Which one? Is it
Hugh.
Hugh Hathcock
Mm-hmm.
is their biggest donor. He's suing them because
For those of y'all who don't know, Jaden Rashada was basically promised an NIL offer of like almost $14 million from Florida.
Yeah.
He was quote very patient on the deal.
it was a 4-year contract,
Right.
technically, but still, that's
Payments never.
that's supposed to be a guaranteed $14 million.
Right. He basically was he was waiting on his payments, never received it. Request out of his national letter of intent. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And then
In LI,
and then sign when you sign.
National Letter of Intent,
Right.
in LI, not NIL.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
No, it's confusing.
Yeah. So he asked a request out of that, got out of that, went to his father's alma mater to play at Arizona State, and now he's transferred to Georgia, being the most professional Florida Gator hater you've ever known, and is now suing Billy Napier, the head coach of Florida, as well as 2 of their largest donors who apparently orchestrated the deal. Basically, to sum it up short, Rashada initially agreed to play for Miami out of high school. Miami offered him a crazy $9.5 million, but then Napier and Hathcock were able to lure him away with a $13.85 million deal.
And I don't think the $9 million was there for Miami either.
I don't think so either. But lawsuit says that Napier vouched that the collective and Rashada would receive $1 million on signing day. That money never came as well. He never even arrived on campus before the contract was terminated and all this other stuff. So basically, he signed the national letter of intent. They're like, oh, by the way, we're going to get rid of that deal, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, this kid's obviously not going to stay. He's not going to be happy. Like, what is the purpose of all this? The deal was with the Gator Collective, which is
which is called, it's just called Gator Collective.
Yeah.
That's the worst name.
and it's basically the
Also, I think Gator Collective isn't part of the lawsuit as well. He is suing Gator Collective as well.
it no longer exists.
No longer. Okay.
So the Gator Collective was an independent fundraising group that was loosely tied to the university. The Gator Collective has since disbanded, basically.
What's their NIL collective now called?
I have no clue.
I'm gonna look it up because I'm curious.
But to sum it up short, the 37-page complaint by Rashada said he tolerated several delays in getting paid and ultimately left with, quote, no faith in the UF football team's leadership and the individuals who constantly lied to him.
Florida's NIL collective is their new one is called Florida Victorious.
Oh,
Still a terrible name.
That's better than collective.
Gator. They're both awful. Like,
I mean, from the sounds of it, it sounds like they're awful in trying to hand out money because this is not the first nor last time we've heard about.
see, USC's got a good one. Theirs is called the House of Victory. I like that.
That's not bad.
But,
But,
I'm getting
it
on
will be-
tangent here.
I mean, it will be interesting to see how this one plays out in court just because do you think Jaden Rashada has a leg to stand on in court right now? And do you think this will hold at least?
I don't have a law degree. I've taken law classes. Fun fact. For
There
me.
you go.
Not at law school. It's just like anyway. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. From where I stand, I see that I'm like, yeah, he got screwed over. Like, I don't know if it necessarily. there has to be like 5. I can't remember the exact 5 things that have to be present for a contract to be valid. Part of it's like consent, like were you able to do it and were you not pressured. Part of it is like, you know, is it fair, like on both, but all those rules can get like bent, and I don't know, so I'm not even going to try to go through all 5. But from what I see, I look at that and I think, well, yeah, of course he should sue them, and they Florida, Billy Napier and all of them should lose. I did hear a legal expert talking about this, and they thought that Jaden Rashada was going to lose this case.
Well, that was my whole thing. Is like, was there enough written to back up these claims? Because it's one thing to say something; it's another thing to have physical evidence and be like, "This is what I was promised. Here's the contracts that we signed. Is it valid contracts at all?" Like, it's all writing based stuff.
Well, and so I think what matters the most, probably, and again, not a lawyer, but what probably matters the most is, was it written in stone that upon signing, on signing day, you get $1 million?
Because right there alone,
if that's
$1
written,
million
yes.
damage.
As soon as that's written, you don't get the $1 million. That's a breach of contract, and they're gonna get sued.
Right.
If that's not written, if it's kind of just like Billy Napier saying like, "Hey, we'll give you $1 million if you sign," then it just becomes like a he said, she said thing.
And so the other interesting thing about this stuff is like there was text messages provided in it between like Rashada and like the collective, and like between him and I believe Hathcock. He did not include any text messages in the suit between him and Napier, which I did find interesting. So either Billy Napier was smart enough to cover his ass when recruiting this kid and not include anything that'd be like, yeah, we promise you X, Y, and Z.
I mean, he's smart enough to do that, but he can't put 11 guys out for a field goal block.
No,
Jesus. I mean, I will say, Bill, they fired their special teams coordinator. That guy sucked. But still.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm genuinely rooting for Jaden Rashada here. Florida screwed him over.
Sure did.
Because even if Miami, which I don't think they had the money they were offering him, or at least were not willing to give it to him, he could have gotten a better deal than he got at Arizona State, which was like, I think it was rumored to be like $750,000. That's a far cry from where he was, what he was expecting to get.
Right.
So, that's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Sue him into the ground. All right. That's the big stuff that happened.
Sure did.
God, that happened like very soon after we filmed too last week.
I know, right?
So we're so late on that.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, what we're not late on
is we're right here for it.
College baseball, the NCAA tournament. The field is set.
Sure is.
I've got my opinions on it. Well,
for those of y'all who don't know, the way the regionals are set is obviously it's regionally based.
Yeah, we explained it last week.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Go back and watch that episode if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
or
let's
don't.
get right into it.
You guys don't do that. Anyone who's still watching, you don't do that. Anyway, I mean, give me your initial impressions.
How the hell did Indiana, Coastal Carolina, and Florida all
Florida.
make it?
How did Florida get in?
How in the world did all three of these teams get in the first place? And all three of these teams, coincidentally, had members on the committee that helped them. I don't know if they helped them get in, but they
100% did.
I mean,
here's the thing. I don't think Indiana deserved to get in. However, they do have really good non-conference wins. They didn't dominate in the Big Ten, which is kind of what you want to see from a Big Ten team in the tournament.
It's the Big
I
Ten.
hate to be a conference elitist, but when it comes to baseball, it's kind of true. I really hate being that way, but it
is.
The Big Ten is just not as good. And so if you're not Nebraska or Illinois, who both got in, they both did very well in the Big Ten. Nebraska ended up winning the Big Ten tournament. Indiana didn't dominate. They had good non-conference wins, but they didn't dominate. So I am here for it if you are very adamant that they should not have gotten in.
Right.
Coastal Carolina sucked down the stretch of the year. They started off the season strong, but they not.
Dropped off. It's just so
They were
weird.
even worse than Vandy. Vandy was garbage the last month of the season.
Yeah, they were.
But Coastal Carolina was garbage the last month and a half, 2 months. It was bad.
What are your initial reactions?
Florida, I should not have been touched by the selection committee with a 39.5-foot pole. Florida is not a good team. They are not a good team.
They got a really good player.
They have a really good player, but they're not a good team.
Oh, yeah. I'm not
they
arguing
suck this year.
Any snubs that you felt should have gotten in over these teams?
I mean, there's a million teams that should have gotten it over Florida. Are you kidding me? They're
First one that comes to mind for me is Lamar.
Lamar had a fantastic year. They lost in their championship game, I believe.
They sure did.
And they just so happened to be in a one-bid league. But they were good. They were really good. Lamar was really good. I think Charleston was really good. Charleston kind of got the short end of the stick.
They sure did.
Because they lost. They had the disadvantage in their conference tournament. UNC Wilmington hadn't lost any games, and Charleston had to work their way back up from the losers bracket. However, so they would have had to win 2 games to make it anyway. But
automatically qualify, yeah.
The semifinal game got rained out the day before, so they had to play the semifinal game the day of their championship game. And had they won that, they would have had to win 3 games in one day to make the tournament. They kind of got screwed, but they ultimately lost and won, so it's fine.
You can only
but
have so many arms.
I still think Charleston was really good. Louisville, terrible relief pitching this year, but they're good batters. They have good closers, average starters. They deserve to be in over Florida. Georgetown deserved to be in over Florida. My point is Florida sucks. They're so bad. Xavier deserved to be in over Florida. Florida's awful.
All right. Here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go through each region.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this is a pick'em segment too, but also we're gonna go through and just give your initial thoughts on each region. So obviously the first region with the top overall seed Tennessee, followed by with the 4 seed Northern Kentucky, 3 seed Indiana, and 2 seed Southern Miss. What's your initial reactions to that region?
My initial reactions is I'm going for NKU or Southern Miss. My sister is an alum of NKU. Southern Miss, I watched their championship game, and I fell in love with their fans.
Oh.
Their fans are so fun.
There you go.
They had a mic just right next to this one dude, and he was just screaming at the refs.
Umpires.
Whatever, who cares? Who cares? The guy calls a strike when it was clearly a ball, and he was like, "Jesus Christ, ref, whatever." He's like, "Let the robots take your job." Every time they would huddle up to talk to the pitchers, and he's like, "It's so hot out here, stop it." I fell in love with Southern Miss fans. That being said, Tennessee's incredible.
Do you think they deserve the 1 seed?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Tennessee's fantastic this year. Tennessee is really good. Yeah.
So who do you got coming out of that region?
Probably Tennessee.
I'm right there with you. All right, going down to the 16 seed. Winner of this will get the winner of the Knoxville Regional. We have East Carolina with Evansville, VCU, and Wake Forest. It's an interesting one.
That's a tough 2 seed.
It sure is Wake Forest. Regional. I was thinking that too.
I mean, I feel like that's a toss-up between ECU and Wake.
I think it is too. I really think it'll be interesting to see because there's also not too much of travel to going on with Wake either to get there. Obviously with the regionals, but some of these regionals, once you look at them more, it's like, my goodness, some of these teams have to travel a while to get there. I'm personally going to take Wake Forest in this one. I would love to see East Carolina though, because it's always fun to see a smaller school.
Even though they're very good at baseball.
They traditionally are, yes.
They've hosted a regional 5 out of the last 8 tournaments.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, they're very good. I'm gonna go with Wake too. I think they're playing good baseball right now. I think East Carolina's on a little bit of a downspin, not drastically, but a little bit.
Enough. All right. Now going on to the 8 and 9 brackets, we have the 9 seed in Oklahoma hosting Oral Roberts. Last year made the College World Series, I believe.
Currently, they did. They currently have a losing record.
Oh, there you go. But it doesn't matter because they won their conference.
They're in, yeah.
They are. And then you got UConn and Duke. Another interesting one where Duke and UConn both have a while to go here.
Yeah, I don't even know where Oral Roberts is.
Oral Roberts, I believe, is in Texas. Don't quote me on it.
I think you're right, but I mean, call me crazy.
It is in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's really close. But call me crazy because they just played in their conference championship game. I've got Duke coming out of this regional. Duke is their bats are hot right now. They hit 3 grand slams in the ACC tournament and a plethora of home runs beyond that. Like, they are batting so well right now. I got Duke.
There you go. All right. Going on to the next region, we have Florida State, Stetson, UCF, and Alabama. Alabama, Florida State is an interesting one here to look at. UCF, I don't think, is a major factor.
Good. Stetson made a super regional last year.
Did they?
Yep.
Interesting. With that all being said, I'm kind of liking Alabama here. I know they've kind of fallen off a bit, but I'm still liking Alabama.
I'm liking Central Florida.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Give me Central Florida.
All right. Going on to the 5 bracket, we have Arkansas, Southeastern Missouri State, Kansas State, and Louisiana Tech. I think this one could be pretty interesting because I think Louisiana Tech has had a very solid year to get.
I'm picking Louisiana Tech, yeah.
To get a 2 seed here. Arkansas, though, great pitching.
Great pitching.
Really good pitching, which is what you need.
Yes, I do think as the more time goes on, I think Arkansas was the team that the SEC caught, like, bugging dugouts. And so ever since then, their batting has gone down. They still have great pitching. I just think they're not as good as we were led to believe. And I think Louisiana Tech is very good this year.
All right.
I'm going with Louisiana Tech.
All right. On to the next one. We got a 12 seed Virginia, which I'm kind of surprised by. They got a 1 seed in a
They're hosting a regional, yeah.
Yeah, and then Pennsylvania, St. John's, and Mississippi State. Personally, I like Mississippi State here.
I mean, I've been really high on Virginia all year long. We do a top 25. I basically had them in my top 10 the majority of the year. I don't think they're there as of now, but I've been very high on Virginia. Their pitching is suspect, though. I'm going to go with St. John's, even though I do like Mississippi State. I think St. John's is an underrated team. I think if they weren't, based in New York, I really do think they would be a fringe top 25 team. But I don't think they got any votes this year. Right. Do you know Mississippi State has a guy that can throw they got a pitcher that can throw 90 miles per hour with both arms.
Really?
He's ambidextrous.
How about that?
He's got a glove where he'll throw a pitch, he'll take it off, and just put it on the other hand.
He's got 8 fingers, yeah.
Yeah.
8-finger glove, yeah.
It's crazy.
Pretty cool.
I've seen it all.
Go good old Pat Benedetti action. Shout out to those who know. Next we have, in my personal opinion, the easiest region in the selection. We have Arizona.
I don't agree. I think that's a pretty stacked region, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I'll elaborate for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Arizona, no shot in my imagination deserved a 1 seed at all. Maybe should have been on the 2 line. There's no way they should have been on the 1 line to begin with.
I mean, they won the Pac-12 tournament. They had the best. Actually, they won the Pac-12 regular season as well.
I don't think they were anywhere shot close. If you look at the RPI actions to them, they're nowhere close to being a top 16 at all, let alone a top 25.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. And then you got Grand Canyon. Shout out to them for making the tournament. West Virginia with arguably the best player in the nation. But I really like Dallas Baptist to come out of this one.
They're
easily. Good. Easily.
Because
none of these 3 teams are shown to me to be at the level of Dallas Baptist at the moment.
I'm going to be crazy here because I think this is the second best.
Really?
I think this is the second best regional. As top to bottom, I think it's the second best. Technically, I mean, if you want to get it, I think it's the most evenly balanced as far as
I suppose
1 through 4.
So. I suppose so. In that
I'm going
aspect.
with Grand Canyon.
Really?
Grand Canyon's good. They are good this year. They're not world beaters. I'm definitely not taking them to go to the College World Series, but I'm going to take them in this regional. Oh, wow.
Ooh.
I got a couple pops out of one elbow.
There you go.
Anyway, this one's easy in my opinion.
Oh, 1,000%. UNC, Long Island, Wofford, and LSU. LSU somehow getting a 2 seed is mind blowing to me.
They're playing fantastic right now.
Are they?
They got a 2 seed because they're in the SEC, but they're playing fantastic.
Really? Because I feel like it's UNC's to lose right here.
I agree with you. I think UNC is playing equally as amazing baseball right now. I think these are two teams that are peaking at the exact right time. They got in the same regional. I'm going with North Carolina though.
I gotcha. On to the next one. We got 2 seed Kentucky, Western Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana State. This one's a little bit of a fun one to me because I've been pretty high on the Sycamores, I believe is what they're called.
Yes, that's a tough 2 seed.
It is a tough 2 seed, but also a tough 1 seed, and arguably could have been the number 1 overall seed in the tournament in Kentucky.
Yeah, but Tennessee won the SEC tournament. They're going to give them a nod.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not arguing any of that. But I do think it's between these two teams. I don't know much about Illinois or Western Michigan. By all means, they're up north. They can't be good at baseball.
Illinois had a good year in the Big Ten. Western Michigan is, they're not that good.
Mm-hmm.
They're really not that good. I think Kentucky got a cupcake of a 4 seed, and I think they got a tough 2 seed. That being said, I think Kentucky is going to win.
All right.
I think they're going to go there. That's the highest ranked that they've ever been in an NCAA tournament in baseball.
There you go. We'll see what they can do with it.
All right.
Next, we have Oregon State hosting Tulane, Nichols, and UC Irvine. I personally like the Anteaters to come out of this one, in my personal opinion, with UC Irvine. That or Oregon State, but I really like the Anteaters. I felt they got robbed, and they should have been hosting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with them not hosting, honestly. I'm okay with it. But I'm going to go Oregon State.
Yeah.
I think Oregon State's good. Yeah, they're just
Tulane's got a while to travel. They got to go all the way
from New Orleans.
Right. All the way up to Oregon.
Yep.
It's quite a stretch.
I mean, Nichols has got to go pretty far, too.
Where is Nichols?
I think it's in Georgia.
Oh, wow. How does that work? How do you get screwed over like that?
It just happens, you know?
I mean, there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that are going to be like that, but, I mean, when it's all regionally based and you see
it's not in Georgia, but it is in Louisiana.
Right, so you got 2 Louisiana teams. I guess Louisiana's the furthest west of the 3 and 4s, and so they got going all the way out to Oregon. It's the only assumption I can make.
But
and then next we have NC State, Bryant, James Madison, and South Carolina. Personally, I think this one might be a little bit of a weaker one, too. James Madison, I think, is good, but I don't know too much about them.
they were a bubble team. You know, they were one of the teams that people were looking at their resume beforehand, making the case whether they should or shouldn't get in. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, they got in, you know. So, good for James Madison. I'm picking NC State.
I guess. I don't really know too much about this region, to be honest with you.
South Carolina's had an up and down year. James Madison's had a solid year. They were a bubble team. Bryant, I don't have any faith in Bryant. And it's at NC State, so
it sure is.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
So next we have Georgia, Army, fun one. Georgia Tech versus Georgia in a regional could be fun, and then UNC Wilmington. I think Georgia got away with an easy bracket here, in my personal opinion.
Georgia Tech probably is the best freshman in the country.
Probably.
But
Georgia arguably has the best bat in the country.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do.
Merritt Griffith, is that his name?
No.
Is
Charlie Condone?
I think I'm thinking of someone else. Yeah, Charlie Condone.
Charlie Condone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take Georgia too. I think they're good. I think they're really good this year. All right, next up, what is, in my opinion, the easiest regional?
Really?
Yes. It's a Clemson regional. Clemson, High Point, Coastal Carolina, Vandy. Give me Clemson.
Is it just because you don't believe in Vandy and they're on a slide?
It's the same with Coastal Carolina. The High Point is the 4th seed. It's the same. And on top of that, Clemson's really good this year.
Yeah.
So,
There you go.
Give me Clemson.
And then we got Oklahoma State, Niagara, Florida, and Nebraska. And you obviously think Florida's going to come out of this region, right?
I think Nebraska will.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting. I don't know too much, and also I'm just biased against the Big Ten, but tell me why Nebraska you like so much.
I like Oklahoma State. I don't love them. Kind of shocked they got a regional.
Okay.
Again, I don't love Nebraska. I just think Niagara, no. Florida shouldn't be in. I just think it's going to be Oklahoma State versus Nebraska in this regional, and I am just banking on Nebraska getting the first matchup and having the upper hand in the regional.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then next one.
Who are you picking?
What?
Who are you picking in that one?
I don't really know. I guess Oklahoma State. I don't really know too much about any of the other three teams, to be honest with you. Next one's a fun one, in my opinion. You have UC Santa Barbara hosting Fresno State, Oregon, and San Diego.
This is the toughest regional, in my opinion.
It's a very tough one because I like both of these teams in UC Santa Barbara and San Diego. I think they're both very good teams.
Yeah.
They've been ranked for me consistently throughout the year.
Oregon is good, too.
Really?
I've been ranking Oregon recently.
Really?
I don't think they've cracked our top 25, but I've been ranking them.
Oh, I haven't. I think that's why they have it. I personally like UC Santa Barbara or San Diego here.
I like Santa Barbara because it's at home. They have an incredible record at home.
They sure do.
I believe this is the first time that they have hosted a regional in the 16 seed era of the tournament. I like Santa Barbara. I think they're very good at home. Even though it's a tough regional, give me the Gauchos.
There you go. This one, the next one, I think could be one of the hardest as well, with Texas A&M, Grambling, Texas. So you have that rivalry going on there between Texas and Texas A&M and Louisiana.
Yeah.
Louisiana has been solid all year. Texas A&M was on fire for a good period of time, flirting with the 1 seed between them and Arkansas at one point.
They stumbled a little bit.
Right. I personally like Louisiana in this one, but also it's very hard to win in Aggies territory.
Yeah, in College Station, that's
right.
difficult.
It is.
Give me A&M.
Their fans are going to be behind them.
Yeah, they do one of the lamest things in all of sports.
Ball 5.
No, that's not it. They blow bubbles.
Blow bubbles.
They blow bubbles. They bring like bubble blowers into the game, and they blow bubbles whenever either they hit a home run or they score.
Okay.
It's one of the lamest things in all of sports. I'm going to be honest.
I do like how they.
That being said, I think A&M has the best coach in baseball, and they're such patient batters, and that just wears down a team, especially a team that doesn't have a deep bullpen. That just wears you down. I think A&M is coming out of this regional.
There you go.
I like A&M a lot.
And
you want to pick College World Series teams? All right. You know what? I'll give you my College World Series teams.
I mean, I don't know how you're going to do that already. I mean,
I'm just I'll pick 8. I'll pick 8. Why not?
oh, from the region?
Yeah. Tennessee.
Okay.
Duke.
Okay.
Give me Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
Give me North Carolina. God, I hate to say it. I think Kentucky's going to win their first ever Super Regional and make it.
There you go.
They've never won a Super Regional game.
There you go.
Not a Super Regional game. So Kentucky, Georgia, give me Clemson, and Santa Barbara.
I don't mind those at all. All right, my picks are, we're going Tennessee. I'm going to go with,
I didn't do a whole lot of fun picks, I'll be honest.
I'm going to go with Alabama. I'm going to go with Louisiana Tech. I like Dallas Baptist. I'm going to go with, give me the Anteaters, UC Irvine.
I would love that.
We're going with Georgia as well. Gosh, this is weak. Give me Clemson, I guess. And I just want to have fun with it. So, UC Santa Barbara. It's between them. I wanted to go to San Diego or Louisiana, but I'm going with them. All right. And now going from teams that won
teams that have won a lot of games,
games
to
to a
teams
team.
that have not won a single game.
Right.
That's right. We're back talking about them.
Who are they?
University of Maryland Eastern Shore, or UMES for short. They went 0-42. Only team in Division I to not win a game.
0-48.
0-48. I don't know why I said 42. Well,
There's been some more news. Has
yeah,
come
there's
out
been
about-
some revelations.
Now, might I just preface this with, even with everything that's gone on, they probably should have won a game. Going 0-48 is very hard to do, and everything. But to sum it up short, there's rumors out there. This is all alleged.
And
by-
accusations.
They sure
I was
are.
combining accusations and allegations.
Yeah.
That was bad.
This is against. This is by alumni and former players of the school, as well as current players
Yeah.
who have given their takes on what happened during the season. But to sum it up short, the AD of
UMES.
UMES, we're just going to go with the hyphen. Tara Owens allegedly sabotaged the team a little bit when she was hired in 2022 and has been actively doing so recurrently, so on and so forth. So to sum up short of what has basically happened, when she got hired, she wanted both softball and baseball teams to have, quote, equity. So she went ahead and took away the home field to Shorebird Stadium from the baseball team. Right there alone, it doesn't really make too much sense to me, but
No.
she also flew the softball team 2 times this year to the baseball team having to go to Tennessee and Alabama. If you guys don't know, this college is located based out of Baltimore, to give you an idea
Yes.
of the distance. She proceeded to then fire their coach last year, or 2 years ago, after 16 games. And then their interim coach led them to their first conference tournament appearance and an 18-win season and playoff berth. And when they were picked to finish like 11th or 12th in the preseason. While they also were shut down from not being able to be in their Shorebird Stadium, they were told that they're shutting it down because they're building a multi-purpose turfway field to be used at the stadium. So that forced the baseball team to play at a rec park. Oh, you would think it'd be close, right? No, it was 30 minutes away from campus. Quote, the conditions were so bad that that we were a player said they were embarrassed to even play there. And then it turned out that the university got embarrassed about it too, so they stopped making payments on the field. So the team only had 14 home games this year. Also, while all this was going on and they were promised a new stadium, and that's why they shut down the old stadium, they still haven't broken ground after 2 years of being promised a new stadium. Summer rolls around of last year, and Owens and the AD assistant Nick Novi decided to clean house not just of the baseball team, but of all sports. One player was quoted as saying they let good coaches go because they simply just wanted their own, which is wild.
It's a normal thing, actually, with ADs, but
Really?
to fire people that maybe don't deserve it just to get their own guy in there.
So basically, they went from winning 18 games last year with an interim coach to having no field, and now they have no field, nothing to break ground on, and they are a winless program in last year. They, quote, said from an alumni, this was, they have now ran the program into the ground and have left it to die.
Yeah. These are some rough allegations.
These are some rough allegations.
Basically, my initial instinct is I get if you want there to be a baseball and a softball team that are kind of on equal footing.
Absolutely.
There's
No
very
one's gonna
few of
argue
those in
about
the
that.
country, actually. But I get it. I get if that's what you want. But I feel like trying to tear the baseball team down to the softball team's level is not the way to do it.
No, you should build up the softball team
Yeah.
to the baseball team.
I feel like it should be like a high tides raise all boats type of situation.
Yeah.
Again, the firing people just to get your own people in there, to get your own coaches in
That's
positions. That's a very normal thing for athletics
That
directors
just has
to
to be
do.
an ego thing, right?
It's 100% an ego thing. It's not actually like trying to win.
No.
But that's a very normal thing for athletic directors, and it's still messed up. Doesn't change it.
No, it is.
Especially if that guy, their interim won 18 games.
After 16 games.
Yeah.
After,
So that's with like
that's a hell of a run in baseball because there's only like, what, 40-some games you play?
you play about 50.
Right. So, I mean, like, to go on and have an 18-win season after playing 16.
I mean, that's a little bit under 500.
Oh, it sure is. No. They had an 18-win season. Like, they were happy to make the playoff.
Yeah.
In
I'm saying that's a little bit under 500 for the guy that took over, but that's considering that
Where they
someone
are
got
and where
fired
they're
after 16 games. That's
also just
solid.
not having a home field.
And it's UMES. They're not a powerhouse program. They're
They're the last dog at the bowl. They're the bottom of the litter. They are.
And unfortunately, they're an HBCU, which means they have very few resources compared to other schools.
Right.
So it's not like they were ever really competing at that high level.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're in the Northeastern Conference, the NEC, my favorite conference.
Sure.
It sucks. You can compete in that conference. You can be a terrible team and still compete. And this kind of reminds me. There's more malice here, but it
Right.
reminds me when over the summer last year we talked about the report that came out about Virginia Tech's athletic department and how just dysfunctional that was.
Right.
Like Virginia Tech, it was a lot of dysfunction in the athletic department. This is a lot of deliberate, malicious action.
Right.
If these allegations are true,
Right.
and it's just so messed up
It really
because
is.
like they don't have a home. Like again, it's also very normal for ads to be like, oh, we're gonna break ground on a new stadium soon as the season's up, and then it just doesn't happen for 4 years
Right.
or however long. But in the meantime, don't leave them without a home.
It is crazy to me.
Like
because,
that's not how it normally goes.
No, because they do have a home. They're just not allowed to use it. That's what's absurd to me. It's like they're like, oh yeah, we're just taking the keys from the kingdom, basically, and you're gonna have to go out to wherever to play. It's like you have this facility, use it. Don't not use it in the terms of equity. It just blows my mind if that is true. That's the one that really blows my mind. Like, how do you?
Yeah, I think
Like, if you have something, use it.
something about this that really doesn't sit right with me is that I understand as a female athletic director, there's not a lot of them. Just
No.
point blank, there is not a lot of women in athletic department or in athletic director roles.
Right.
You want to raise like women's sports. You want to be that advocate. You want to be that voice in the room. I get that. Don't do it at the expense of other programs. Like that's messed up. It feels like she's shooting her own cause in the foot. If this is all true,
This is
she's
all
shooting her
statements that have
own
come
cause in
out.
the foot
Right.
by behaving the way she has.
We don't know the validity or anything to back up these statements. We just know that these are statements that have been made.
And we also just know what is true. They only played 14 home games. They
Right.
were playing at a rec league 30
Right.
minutes away from their campus.
The campus stopped paying for the payments on the rec league, so
Well,
they
I think-
lost more home games.
I don't know if that is confirmed because
Mm-hmm.
oh no, UMES is a public school, so actually you can confirm that.
Right.
Okay, yeah, so they quit very cheap tuition, honestly. Anyway,
4K. But yeah,
it's bad.
yeah. I mean, it's really unfortunate
Yeah,
to say the
there's
least.
not much to say. It's kind of shocking that we were joking about this team, and then all of a sudden there's this
Well, it's
story.
It really just came across my feed, and I was like, oh, we just talked about this. Might as well add
Yeah.
it. And I was like, huh.
But
Yeah. I mean,
there's not much else to add to that. It's just
so do you feel
sad.
bad going back from last week being like, ha, they suck. Isn't that great? They just suck.
No, because it was fun. It was fun. I love the Northeastern Conference. I love it.
Oh, man.
I love that conference. It's my favorite conference.
There we go.
I want Louisville to move to that conference.
Oh, dude.
Just dominate everything.
Yeah, and then we have no money because no one watches it.
That's true. No, I mean, Gonzaga brought eyes to the West Coast Conference of basketball.
Oh my gosh, we would have to be very good at all
Anyway.
sports.
Another
Somber news. I guess, is
another half, bittersweet, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I guess.
Birmingham Southern is a D3 school. Their team made it to the NCAA tournament for D3, Division
They
3.
sure did.
They are now on their way to the College World Series.
That starts next week. Next weekend.
Yeah,
right?
for Division 3. Why is that notable, you might ask? Well, their school is going to shut down permanently on May 31st.
That's in 3 days. So they're going to be playing for a school this weekend for a college that no longer exists. They're going to be wearing the logo and everything of a school that simply isn't there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
So, yeah, my first thought is, what happens if they win? Where's the trophy go? What happens? Like, does they just pass it around each home, like a little roundabout? Like, here, you get it for a week, I get it for a week. Like, how's this? How would...
I would love that.
I mean, my assumption is it will go to, like, an alumni association of some sort. That'd be my...
Yeah, you're probably right.
That'd be my guess. But also, it's just, like, it's interesting. Good on Birmingham Southern. Continue what you're doing, representing a school that no longer exists. It's also a sad trend that we're seeing here in America now, where a good bit of colleges are starting to shut down.
Yeah,
too.
small private universities are shutting down. It's a post-COVID thing. A lot of people are, for multiple reasons, convenience being one of them, tuition prices being another. They're not going to these small colleges anymore. And so the enrollment of a lot of small private colleges are just plummeting because fewer people altogether are going to college, but more people are going to like state universities.
Right.
And so if you're in the position of these like small colleges, you can't just jack up tuition prices because then fewer people want to go, and you're in the same boat. And so a lot of these small private colleges are having to just close down because not enough people are enrolling there. And, it's a fun story, but it sucks because all these people, like all the people on this team, they have to transfer now. They have to transfer. They have to go somewhere else if they want to go get a degree.
Right.
And so, it sucks, but yeah, it's a sad trend, but a fun story. So
it is, absolutely.
Go
Yeah.
Birmingham Southern. We're rooting for you.
There you
If
go.
I'm one of those players, second we play our last game, I'm taking as much equipment as possible. What are they going to do? It doesn't belong to anyone anymore. I'm taking
Where do I return
all of that stuff. The jersey's mine. I'm taking bats. I'm taking
Every
anything
pair
that
of
says Birmingham Southern on it.
He's taking the bubble gum tubs with him.
Anything that says Birmingham Southern. It is mine now.
It honestly is kind of interesting. So, all right, what do we got left here?
We got EA Sports, the football game, which
Sure.
very people are very excited about that.
I am.
Yeah, when's it come out?
It comes
July?
out July. Yeah, July 20 something, something along those lines.
Yeah. Well, Brett McMurphy for what is it, Action Network or something like that?
I don't know.
Brett McMurphy.
He is with America's College Insiders with Action Network. You are correct.
Yep, Action Network. Yeah, Brett McMurphy released that EA used tier systems to determine how much to pay universities for their likeness.
But the way they did it wasn't based off of their own opinions on it. They did it based off the last 10 years of AP football polls, final finish polls, so where the teams finished
Yeah.
at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, honestly, a lot of bowl game factors probably went into this. So, you wanted to win your bowl games.
Yeah.
They might matter now when it comes to money, at least.
Kind of, honestly, if it's based on final rankings, it is a little shocking
It is. It's
that
based
Notre
off of
Dame is
final
up there
finish.
because Notre Dame is terrible in bowl games.
So, to give you an idea, there are only
There's 134 currently schools in FBS.
there's only 13 schools in the Tier 1 list. I would say the biggest tier is probably Tier 2 or in Tier 4.
Tier
with
4 is the biggest, yeah.
Tier 4 is the biggest, and then a Tier 2 is the next biggest with Tier 3 sliding right in between them. But the 13 schools, some of these I found surprising in Tier 1. I mean, some of them aren't, where you got, obviously, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Clemson, Penn State, Oklahoma, Georgia, and LSU. Some of them that might be a little bit more surprising would be Oklahoma State. You have Notre Dame, Utah, and maybe even Iowa included in there.
Oklahoma State, Iowa, and Utah don't shock me.
Really?
They're very consistent programs.
It's interesting, though, because I wonder what the factor is here, because as far as, like, elite schools go, you would think in Tier 2 you have USC, Florida State, Texas, Washington, even like a Florida or in like Tennessee.
Well, I mean, think about it. All of those schools have had down years, and this is going over the last 10 years. So
Right.
going back to the 2014 polls,
Mm-hmm.
all of those schools have had very down years. There have been seasons where USC has sucked, Florida State has sucked for a long time. Texas, even longer, has sucked. They're just recently back. You know,
Right.
Washington had some down years when Peterson retired.
The biggest news, though, is with these tier lists is the amount of money that is difference between the tiers. It's $100K for Tier 1, $60K for Tier 2, $40K for Tier 3, and the fourth tier is $10K. So you're almost making not quite double from Tier 2 to Tier 1, but it's quite a significant amount from each tier that you're receiving. It's about 150% from each tier, more or less. Tier 4, though, 10K to 40K, that is a massive jump if you can make it to Tier 3.
Yeah, that's Tier 4 is.
Scraping the barrel.
It kind of. I feel so sad for the power conference teams that are in Tier 4.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
like you have the
Vandy, Virginia, Duke, Maryland, Illinois, Nebraska is in Tier 4, which, I mean, Nebraska's been down for a while. They've had
you
like
have Cal, Purdue. You've got Virginia.
yeah, I said Virginia, Boston College. I think that's it for power
Maryland?
conference
Did you say
teams.
Maryland?
I did say Maryland.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, like, yeah,
It is interesting to see because, I mean, from the likes, I mean, you're in the same conference as, like, I mean, Purdue's in the same conference as Michigan. You're getting 10% of the amount of money that they are getting. To be fair, in the grand scheme of things, 100K doesn't change a program at all at this level.
But it's a lot nicer
It is a lot nicer to receive.
than 10K. I will say I didn't realize that. So it does appear as if within the tiers they're ranked.
That was
like
my
themselves.
assumption because I see USC, Florida State, and Texas right next to each other in the Tier 2.
Yeah, and Alabama's at the top of Tier 1. So I do think this is actually ranked within the tiers itself.
Which is
Vandy is above Maryland, which is I didn't know Maryland was that bad.
It is interesting when you think about it because once you start looking over this, it's like, all right, San Jose State made it into Tier 3. Marshall did. App State did. Like,
Yeah, Illinois is the bottom of the barrel here, which is kind of crazy to think. Which I guess it makes sense because they've only had one good year, basically, since 2014.
Yeah, just below them is Kennesaw State.
Because they've never been in FBS before the season.
Wow.
They were in FCS.
Wait, is this all the FBS schools right
Yep.
here in football?
Yep, 134.
How do UConn make it? I thought they're FCS.
No, they're FBS. They're just independent.
Oh, gotcha. More you know. I mean, like, yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see. Tier 3, who's that W team?
W? Where?
Right next to Colorado, in between Minnesota and Colorado.
Oh, Western Michigan.
Oh, that's Western Michigan.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes
they're
sense.
they're in Tier 3 because they had that 1 year with PJ Fleck.
Yeah, pretty good. Absolutely.
I mean, it's funny because right below Western Michigan is PJ Fleck's current stop, Minnesota.
It is a little funny. To be fair, he has built something a little bit there. I wonder.
A little bit. It feels like they have a cap. It feels like Minnesota has a ceiling. I picked them to go to the Big Ten championship last year. I was dead wrong about that.
It was a boring West, though.
That was the worst division. Like, if you made the Big Ten West last year a conference, they would have been one of the worst conferences in the sport.
Oh, yeah.
They were so bad.
Good thing it's gone forever.
It is, thank God.
There we go.
All right, let's move on to.
But
This is more,
It's just fun.
EA football news, but
Well, anyway. Texas A&M Mike Elko was asked at a press conference about if he was excited for the new college football game 25 and if the players were excited as well. And he said, in full disclosure, because I've been a part of this before and you can't imagine how much the release of a hot new video game can impact your team. He says, I can remember all the way back to when the second Call of Duty came out and it got released in October, middle in one of our football seasons. We literally were having meetings with our defense about why it's not good to stay up until 4 in the morning playing Call of Duty. We had practice at 7 o'clock the next morning. I think it's kind of funny because it puts into perspective that these athletes, they're kids.
Yeah, but like we were talking before we started rolling that Charlie Strong actually I think banned Call of Duty. It was either Call of Duty or Halo, but he actually like banned it when he was coaching at Louisville.
When did the second Call of Duty come out?
I have zero clue, honestly. I couldn't tell you, but yeah, you know, let's hope people aren't staying up that late.
2005.
That is a long time ago.
Where was Mike Elko in 2005? To be fair, middle of October, he's spot on with this. Release date was October 25th.
Yeah, it's, towards the end, but it's the middle. Mike Elko, great coach.
Sure is.
He coached at Notre Dame. I didn't know that.
He might have been 2005. He was at Richmond.
Richmond, he was coaching FCS.
He was the safeties and linebackers coach.
All right. You know, I will say, I think players today are a little more conscious of, like, I need to take care of my body. I need to do this, I need to do that. Not across the board, but, I think there are definitely people that are more aware of, like, I need to take care of myself off the field so I can be the best on the field. It's like, it's a stark contrast from, when Babe Ruth was playing baseball, he was just out smoking and drinking and gambling the night before a game. Maybe the day of. Who knows? But, yeah, that's basically it, right?
I mean, more or less, yeah. And
then we got Shiloh Sanders.
We have that, and then we also have, like, this last bit right here.
Yeah, the transportal stuff. All right, let's do Shiloh Sanders real quick.
Shiloh Sanders beat the shit out of a security guard back in 2015 when he was a kid. Now he's paying the price for it. He lost a
what was it? A $12 million, $11.89 million lawsuit judgment against him, stemming from the assault that he did back in 2015. No idea how old he was. He apparently, the security guard had a permanent injuries from a broken neck, damage to a clavicle spine, and permanent neurological injuries and irreversible incontinuance. I don't know how to say these words. But allegedly came from when Sanders elbowed him and then continued to hit him. Since the security guard is obviously sued, has won the judgment, and then we got to see how much Shiloh Sanders was making from this, and it turned out that he had $325,000 to his name, is what he claims in the lawsuit. The security guard is alleging that he has more NIL earnings in some LLCs as well, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. I was wondering if this will affect his brand deals, because he has had deals with Google, Stars, Okies, in a Super Bowl commercial. He's also been with some of the coverage of college football 25, the video game. Personally, I think this will affect him a little bit because
absolutely,
we didn't know anything about this until now, basically. And
so it absolutely affects future NIL deals and also his draft stock. It very much affects his draft stock.
I would say because it was so long ago, we're talking about an incident almost 9 years ago now to the day. It will be interesting to see if, you can change in 9 years.
You can. That's also a really bad.
It's a bad look.
Broke the guy's neck and then kept beating. Right. Just kept beating him. But
how old is he?
Shiloh's probably like 21, 22. But It's
He's 24, so we're talking about something that
Oh, he's
happened when
pretty
he was
old.
15.
I mean, you should know. It's a security guard. I don't even know the full situation.
No. I'm not defending the act.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, he could still. I don't know. You're right. He was a kid, but at the same time, I'm gonna be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
This is just me assuming. I don't have any information here. I think security guard's right.
Well, he won the settlement.
Yeah, but I think he's right in that he's hiding assets.
Well, $325K. That's probably one ad for him.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't think it's that much, but like, I do think he's hiding assets. Like, he's got 2 LLCs.
Yeah.
That's what you do. That's what you do when you're hiding assets. So, I don't know, because the fact that he's still like hiding assets potentially, that kind of shows that maybe he didn't really learn much. Sucks. I don't know. It's not a fun story either way.
Right.
But it is.
That's what it is. So we've also got some more.
Yeah.
The daily portal news or weekly portal news update you guys on. Chaz Lanier has committed to Tennessee. That's probably the biggest get.
That's very big for Tennessee.
It's massive. He came from North
Florida.
Yeah, that's where. DJ Wagner is reuniting with John Calipari in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Braden Smith out of Colgate, not to be confused with the Braden Smiths from Purdue. One of the best players from the Patriot League last year is committing to Gonzaga. But weird enough, though, he's going to be redshirting next year.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a guy transferring to the redshirt. I think it's rather interesting.
2 people are doing it on Louisville's roster.
Yes, but I felt Braden Smith's good enough to at least take that jump to that next level, though.
Yeah, but
Where at least
Gonzaga has a really good roster next year.
fair enough.
They've got a really good roster.
And then shout out to Notre Dame's 2024 men's lacrosse. They are the champions this year, as well as we're going to find out.
Did they win back-to-back titles?
I'm not sure, honestly.
I think they did.
They could have potentially. And then we also got the softball College World Series with 1 seed Texas, 2 seed Oklahoma, 4 seed Florida, 5 seed Oklahoma State, 6 seed UCLA, Stanford at an 8. Duke is the 10 seed, and rounding off the field is Alabama at the 16 seed for that 18 field.
Alabama's not a 16 seed. Texas A&M was 16 seed. Alabama was not a 16 seed because Texas made it as the 1 seed, which means they played the 16 seed, which was Texas A&M.
Fair enough.
Alabama's in either way.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see. Who do you like? Who do you think is going to win?
Texas.
Really? I'm going with Oklahoma. I think they're going to run it back.
Texas is really good this year.
All right, there you go.
It's softball. It sucks because there's not as many people. The parity is not there because there just aren't as many athletes. Period, and so they all cluster with the top programs. So, from that regard, women's sports are less fun at times because there's a lot less parity.
Right.
So, I got Texas. Bill Walton, he died. He had cancer.
He did.
Rip.
Do we know what type of cancer he had?
No, I do not.
It is interesting. All the comments were saying on the post were Bill Walton dies 2 days after the last Pac-12 event ever happened.
Yeah, and the Pac-12 aired its final broadcast on
Sure
the Pac-12
did.
network.
Bill Walton couldn't live without the Pac-12.
No.
And if you know anything about him, that's who he was.
Yeah, he's UCLA guy.
Through and through.
Always talked about what do you call Arizona?
I don't recall.
Something the Big Red in the West or something like that, or in the desert. I don't know. He had a nickname for Arizona. He always called him, but he was a fun commentator. If you could stay up that late, he was fun.
He was not only a fun commentator, he was a 3-time national player, Naismith Player of the Year at UCLA.
Yeah, NBA champion.
He was a MVP of the league back in the 70s with Portland in the NBA, and then he was even a greater human being.
Well, I didn't know him, but yeah, that it's depressing, but Don't be happy they're gone. Don't be sad it's gone. Be happy it happened.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just end off by saying that we're recording this on Tuesday. The deadline to withdraw your name from the NBA draft or keep it in is Wednesday, the 29th. Some big names we're looking at. Started. Probably the biggest impact name is Mark Sears.
He can come back to Alabama?
Yep.
Interesting.
Got one more year, I think. So Mark Sears is, I think, the biggest name. He takes them from being like, lower top 10 to probably like 2 or 3.
Oh, if Mark Sears comes back, they can go on another Final Four run.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think they've got a better team.
That elevates them significantly.
So Mark Sears is a big one. Alex Caravan out of UConn. Yeah,
where Danny Hurley was like, if he decides not to go, he could be one of the best players in the nation.
Yeah, which is not wrong. If he does go, though, then they're losing their entire starting lineup.
To the draft.
It's crazy. Who else we got? We got Michael Ajayi for,
okay, yeah.
Pepperdine, but transferred to
Gonzaga,
but he's still
in
testing
the
the portal.
Or testing the draft, yeah.
The draft, that's what. Yeah.
Right.
That would be a big get if it's not a killer because Gonzaga didn't have him in the first place, but
be nice to have. Yeah, absolutely.
Who else we got? Jackson Robinson.
Where did he go?
BYU. He's
yeah.
looking at Kansas and Kentucky if he doesn't go to the draft.
Right.
Is there any other big names you can think of?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah. So, Coleman Hawkins, which
So is he going?
The buzz
from
on
Illinois?
Yeah, I think he's gone. Coleman Hawkins. The buzz on him is that he's probably not going to keep his name in the draft.
Oh, so where is he going to go?
My guess is North Carolina.
Interesting.
That's my guess because
Good
there was a Final Four that he had put out if he were to come back, and it was not that he put out, that Matt Norlander put out on his behalf. It was North Carolina, Kansas State, Louisville, and a fourth team. Louisville has all their spots filled up, so they're not really an option. North Carolina still needs a big, but they need a center, and Coleman Hawkins wants to play power forward, so it's not like a perfect marriage.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, those are the big ones off the top of the head. That's going to dictate a lot on, like, as far as like preseason, like rankings go.
Right.
Because again, if Mark Sears comes back, Alabama's one of the best teams in the country immediately. Yeah, I think that's all we got. That's all we got this week.
That's all we were at.
It's jam-packed with stuff to talk about. So I guess we'll, with that, if you stuck around, I don't know how many did, but if you stuck around, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.